Hi guys, day 9 of the travel vlog. We're getting ready for the travel, to be fair. 12 months, that's what it is. It's going to be 12 months without a roast potato. A splash of gravy. Or the smell of Debbie's roast dinner in the oven. 12 whole months.
I know. How are we going to cope without our English foods? How would you guys cope without your English foods? Do you think you'd miss them? I think a roast dinner for us is pretty high on the list, isn't it? Because it's a meal that we do tend to have most Sundays, isn't it? Because we're very traditional in that sense, because it's a very traditional British dish that is typically eaten on a Sunday. So, yes, I think it's quite high on our list of potential things to miss.
Hence the conversation today, because we've just had a roast dinner and it was mwah.
Yes,
so thank you.
We've literally just finished eating, so we're a bit stuffed.
So it was a lamb roast today. In the UK, I don't know if you guys know, obviously the UK guys will. There's a variety of roast dinners that we
Meats.
look at.
There's a variety of meats.
And that is lamb, beef, chicken, and pork. Would you say they're the main ones?
They mainly, and Christmas obviously is turkey.
And turkey at Christmas. Although, to my knowledge, some people do have turkey for Sunday roast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can buy it all year round. But we tend to only have turkey we don't even have turkey at Christmas, actually.
Bit dry for me.
Yeah, we tend to have chicken at
I
Christmas.
prefer the chicken. Chicken's juicier.
Yes, but I have to say, lamb is my personal favourite. If I had to choose, I like all of them.
Yes.
I'm happy to eat all of them, but I think lamb is my favourite.
I like chicken and lamb. I can't choose which one is my favourite out of them two, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
The only reason being, lamb as a rule of thumb is good every time.
Yes.
Lamb isn't always that great.
You just said lamb is good and then lamb isn't great.
No, it depends on the cut. It depends on where we get the lamb. Because it can be a bit gristly. It's not, but if you get a good lamb, it's lovely. It's probably one of the best then.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I suppose the easiest one to cook out of all of them is a chicken, because it's something that we do all the time, even during the week. We could have a chicken. It's the easiest to cook, and you can guarantee most of the time that your chicken's going to taste pretty much the same. But like you said, lamb and any other cut of meat, actually, beef equally, and pork, you can get not so great joints of meat. But even so, I still love everything that comes with a roast dinner. The crispy roast potatoes, the thick gravy, and Patrick and I like our gravy a bit like soup.
Yeah, it's lovely.
We don't like any of that watery gravy that they give you in some restaurants. We like proper thick gravy made from the juices of the meat, how I was taught to make a roast dinner many, many years ago. So yeah, it's something I'm going to miss, because I know it's probably going to be an impossibility to get some of the ingredients that I have to buy in the UK gluten-free. So yeah, and who knows what joints of meat they will have in Southeast Asia, because that's where we're going to be spending the next 12 months.
I wonder if it's mainly chicken, pork, fish. That's what I've got in my head.
I've got that in my mind as well. But until we get there, obviously, we won't know. But you never know. We might be lucky. And one of our future videos, you may see us trying to attempt a roast dinner in a foreign country.
It'll be the gravy, I think, will be the challenge as well, if we can get the proper gravy granules. One thing I would like to ask these guys, though, is what's your favourite meat?
Yes.
I mean, comment below. Is it chicken? Is it turkey? Is it pork? Is it lamb? Beef? Have I missed any out, Deb?
Well, for your vegetarians out there, I think vegetarian roast dinners are very popular as well. And you can even in the UK now buy what's called vegetarian meats, if you like. So corn roast. They're not that easy to come by, but you can make yourself an alternative vegetarian roast dinner. They're quite popular too. Quite a lot of people do it. Then one of my daughters is vegetarian, so yeah. Let us know which is your favourite. What other
Well, I was
British
just going to think,
foods?
you guys who aren't from the UK, I think you've got to try a roast dinner when you
Absolutely.
come. And apparently, it's the most popular meal for pub lunches in the UK is a roast dinner.
Yes,
So you
because
should be able
people-
to get one, no problem.
Yeah, people eat it even throughout the week. We have venues that are called carveries, so it's a bit like help yourself to whichever ingredients you want to have on your roast dinner. And there's usually a selection of meats there as well, and
Yeah,
you
two
can
or
choose.
three as a rule.
Choose which meat you'd like, or sometimes they'll give you a slice of all of them, which is nice to when you're eating out. But personally, I love eating out. I absolutely adore it. I do prefer my own roast dinners.
I prefer Debbie's roast dinners as well. And I'm not just saying that because she's sitting next to me. I do.
I'm not that I'm saying I'm the best cook in the world, because I know I'm absolutely not. I just think maybe my taste buds have got used to it over the years, and I just got it to the point where I'm happy, to cook a roast dinner, because there's a lot of effort that goes into a roast dinner and a lot of timings and a lot of clear up after. But I'm happy to do that because I know I really enjoy the flavours of my own roast dinner. Quite often I can be disappointed if we go out, because those of you who know, I have celiac disease, so I have to be careful when I eat out, and not all venues give me what I would class as a good quality gravy, a gluten-free gravy, which I understand is difficult. So yes, I would always much rather just cook one myself.
So the next one, if you were being asked by somebody who's not from the UK,
Yes.
what other delicacy?
I don't know if it's a delicacy.
No, but what other food would you recommend if you were coming to England?
Well, if you've never tried it before, you have to try our traditional fish and chip takeaway.
Yes, fish and chips.
Fish and chips in paper, or
Salt
these
and vinegar.
days, these days they're in boxes. But yes, you can find a fish and chip takeaways everywhere throughout the UK. And again, hit and miss. You can find good ones and you can find not so good ones. But as a dish, I think I'm going to miss fish and chips as well. Our British chips.
Yeah. One thing I would say to anybody not from the UK who's not used to fish and chips, if you're going to get fish and chips, eat them as quickly as possible, because the batter it doesn't improve, shall we say, in time.
The longer you leave it in the packet,
Yes.
because it's crispy and crunchy on the outside, and that's exactly how you want your batter, isn't it? And sometimes they'll wrap the fish with the chips, and then the steam from the chips actually makes the batter go a bit soggy. So that's a bit of a dislike on our part, isn't it? And we're quite fussy whenever we go for fish and chips. We always ask them to wrap them separately. Some places do, but not all. And you're right, yes, your fish has to be crispy batter. But again, that's a meal that is very often found on pub
Menus.
special boards and menus.
Yes.
Yeah, you can get traditional British fish and chips with mushy peas usually,
Mushy peas or
and curry sauce, and of course ketchup, British ketchup.
Yeah, these are the things we're going to miss. It's quite mad, actually. When you start, it's probably like most people from most countries. You get used to your own culinary delights, and there's so many things we've started thinking of with the roast dinner, the fish and chips, and another one that I do miss when we go travelling. And I know it sounds daft because places do it everywhere, but it's not the same.
What's
and that is a good full British English breakfast.
Oh yes, the cooked English breakfast. Yeah.
The sausages aren't the same. I'm sorry, guys, they're not. The bacon's not the same.
You're right, they're not.
The beans aren't the same.
No.
It just isn't the same, and I can't explain it.
No, you're right. No, you are right. And again, what is it about British sausages that make them taste so different to
everybody else.
sausages from around the world? But they definitely do. They
When When you think Germany, for example, it's
Yeah,
famous for its sausages.
Yeah, but they
they're
put lots of
it's a
garlic and
different
spices
taste.
in there. So I think ours are definitely less spicy and more meaty, maybe.
Yeah.
And ours tend to be really fat sausages, don't they? And I know a lot of countries have like the chipolata style sausages. So yes, and it's not that we eat fried breakfast
Oh, and
often.
the other thing that gets me when we travel, and sorry, it's just hit me. Whenever we travel, and anybody outside the UK, if you can tell me why this is, I like butter with my bread, and I like butter with my toast. And every time I ask in a restaurant, they say, no, that's just for breakfast.
Yes,
I
when we
never
eat
get it.
out in the evening, typically in the European countries we've been to, you'll get bread on the table, as you know, and usually you'll get olive oil to dip it in, which is
Lovely.
Which is lovely, yeah. But you do like butter on your bread.
I do.
And yes, and we've actually been refused, like you said, in some places.
Yes,
Point
we
blank.
don't have butter. Well, I'm sure there is some in the kitchen somewhere. That's for breakfast, not for dinner.
Yeah, so, but who knows what we're going to come across in Southeast Asia, and the places that we're going are so unusual and different. We have no idea. We have no idea what our challenges are going to be when it comes to food. Obviously, a big one for me is my celiac and gluten-free. So I'll see how I get on with that. I'm trying to keep positive and hopeful.
Do you mean trying? Of course you should be. Very positive.
Well, you just don't know though, do you?
I'm sure it'll be okay because we're going back to what they put it, the chemicals that they put into the foods. You're going
Process.
you're going back to basics, aren't you, with celiac?
Yes.
Because there's no wheat.
Yes, but what I mean is my choices might be very, very limited.
Yes.
Because I can usually, make up a meal from any restaurant menu. If the chef will allow me, if I can choose
No butter.
chicken off that dish and the vegetables off that dish or the salad off that dish, I know it can be. But that's what I mean. It's like, how many treats am I going to have? I bet I probably won't have any gluten-free puddings. I will be so chuffed if I can get gluten-free puddings. I'm hoping it's going to be a good thing and I'm going to lose lots of weight. But yeah, remains to be seen. But that's obviously a big thing for me. And I don't know how I'm going to fare. I don't know how good it's going to be or how frustrating it's going to be. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
What other foods do you think you'll miss? I mean, is it the traditional cottage pies or shepherd's pie or anything like that? Or
Not really.
those days have sort of gone, and they were from my younger days, I think.
Yes. I know, I think
It's more traditional in the UK.
Yeah, the two biggies for me are going to be a roast dinner, fish and chips. Not so much the English breakfast.
No, because we don't have them that
without
often, but when we do, it's not, I do like them.
Yeah. So, and like I said, the desserts and the puddings, particularly for me, because I've got such a sweet tooth, the choice that I've got in the UK for gluten-free desserts is incredible. So I think I'm going to miss that. I think I'm going to miss my options only being fruit.
I wonder what you would call a British pudding now.
Well, I think two come to my mind. I think a trifle is very British.
Trifle?
Trifle is very British, and that is my pudding of choice, if I could ever have it. I rarely can, because there are small pieces of sponge cake in it, and most places don't bother to put gluten-free sponge in it. So, and I get that, but that is would be my pudding of choice, which is very unusual. I don't know many people who would choose a trifle, but I love a trifle. I love a trifle.
Mine would be, if I was going, I'd normally go for sticky toffee pudding, but I don't know if that's English or not. So I would, if I was going for traditional English, what comes to mind with me would be rhubarb and custard. It would be apple pies.
That's what I was going to say.
Something
apple
with
crumble.
custard.
Yeah,
ice
apple crumble
cream.
is very British, and
Yes.
it is because we have lots of British apples. That is one fruit that we can grow very easily in the UK. So yes, apple pies and apple crumbles are very popular. So, but you don't eat puddings very often.
No, but if I wasn't, if there's anyone out there who likes their apple pies and that, we want to keep you involved, don't we?
Yeah. And what would you miss? I mean, it's probably something we haven't even thought of.
No?
Because there are so many, foods that you could pluck out of the air that I know I'm definitely going to miss mayonnaise if they don't have any mayonnaise. That's probably something that I have on a more or less daily basis.
Oh, you live mayonnaise.
I love mayonnaise.
So
So if there's no mayonnaise, yeah.
that and tea.
A British tea. Yes. How easy is it going to be to get British tea?
I'd love to know your thoughts on it all. And anybody outside the UK, maybe from Southeast Asia, would love to get some ideas and what we should be looking for, what sort of street food maybe we should be going for, what sort of restaurant food, and what you'd advise us to try out.
Yeah, definitely. And especially from a gluten-free perspective, if I can have any advice or tips on that, I would be eternally grateful because I really don't want to get poorly when I'm away. That would be a
definitely
nightmare.
Yes. So I think that's about it today for food. But it is something that's you don't really consider until because you can put up with it if you're going away for a week or two.
Yes, because you're coming back and you look forward to it.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what you guys have done when you've travelled over a long period of time, or you've considered it, or you know someone who's travelled over a long period of time, and what they've really missed and how they've overcome it. So that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
To hear some comments from people and stuff like that.
Yes, we're always keen to hear from you guys.
So if you want to carry on get it out in a minute, carry on our journey, please subscribe. We look forward to seeing you every day, and we look forward to chatting and basically journaling with you on our travel vlog.
Yeah. So until tomorrow, we don't even know what we're going to talk about tomorrow yet,
No.
but we'll soon figure something out in this long preparation period we've got ahead of us. So like Patrick said, subscribe and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, and if there's anything you'd like to chat about, drop it in the comments and we shall have a chat about it. So subscribe and see you soon.
Yes. Take care.
See you for now.
Bye.